friends. Welcome to Flosstube and Variety Show number 67. I'm Emily Williams in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and I'm so glad you've joined me today. We have to talk about the weather apparently, so I'll just point out the beautiful view out the window over my shoulder there. You can also see, just coincidentally, that we've restored our mantle to the non-Christmas season decor. As I mentioned last time, we keep our decorations up and keep the lights on through January 6th, and then normally on January 7th, we put it all away. But we kept it up, but not lit, through Monday, because our friend who was traveling back to Canada left that morning. So that afternoon, we got out all the boxes and put it all away. So it's, I feel like it's sort of dark in the house without those extra lights. Oh well. It's getting lighter because we've passed the winter solstice, so it's heading toward the days getting longer. And that's fine. It's all fine. Anyway, this is Flosstube, meaning cross stitch, and other flossy related topics, and a variety show because sometimes it's about something else as well, excuse me. So this is going to kind of be a 2023 projection in a way, because I didn't do that in my last video, which was the first one of 2023, and because I've had some time to give this a little more thought, don't be worried. This is not going to be anything major. And it's not going to be a complete whip parade either, because, well, it just isn't. But I'll tell you about the things, because I'm going to talk about 2023. But first, I'm going to show you Eliza Stringer, age 6. This is a Hands Across the Sea sampler reproduction of a sampler about which they are telling us very little. They just give us the pattern. We have to choose our own colors. This is in preparation for the Great British Sampler Weekend, which is the end of September in England, which I'm going to with my friend Leslie. So this is just it's charted as all one color, but we can choose our colors. And if you've been watching me a while, you know that I have chosen, this is 46 count fabric of some sort. Linen, and I'm doing it on 100.3 silks by Au Ver A Soie. And I've chosen 4 colors, red, green, pink, and tan. And so up here at the top, I've put my initials in tan, so the EHW are in tan. And then down here, there's this verse, which is from 1 John, which is fine. I had played around with the idea of charting a different verse to fit there. And I charted one, but then I thought, I'm just going to do it the way it is. That way it will resemble the other. We're supposed to bring it with us, if we can, to the retreat, so that we can all see what each other chose to do. And of course, some of this is shown up on Facebook also, people's finishes or in progress. But this is my in progress. Work in progress. And you can sort of take that as a starting point. I want to finish it soon. I don't know if I'll finish it in January, just because I have a lot of other things I am enjoying working on, but that's that. I just realized I didn't really prepare this table to receive the bounty of all the things that are spread out here. We'll see. Hopefully I won't have a cascade, an avalanche. This is Sampler 193 by 2x2 Stitch Art. And this is I got this pattern from Etsy, and it's a Ukrainian designer. And buying patterns off Etsy is a way to support Ukrainian designers, even though they're in a war situation. Most parts of the country, or many parts of the country are. Anyway, that one I'm doing on, you can see my progress here, on 16 count Aida using a DMC 777, which is sort of a darkish red. And this is about 1/8 of the design, a little more than 1/8. And if you remember, which I don't expect that you do, I did more up in that corner recently. So that is sort of my status. Thinking of 2023 goals. So I want to finish Eliza Stringer soon. This, at first I thought I was going to finish because I thought there was only 15,000 stitches left, but there's 25,000 stitches, you know, just a matter of a little math error there. So I don't know. I'm sure that I could finish it because it's fairly easy to work on because it's all one color and, you know, that makes things easier. But I have many things I want to do, so maybe not. I might not finish it. Now this is the Holiday Countdown Stitch Along. And I am working right now on day 15, which is the this coral color right there. And I discovered in putting the coral color in that actually these little dark green and there's a light brownish thing right there are in the wrong place by 1 stitch. So I'm going to have to take out this part of the coral and this dark green and this one part. I'll take that out. But you get an idea of how it's coming together. And you can see this over here on this other side is almost finished. There is apparently one more color that's going into the very bottom band there. So that's that. And I will say, I've had positive and negative feelings about this as it's gone along in terms of how the colors are coming together. But right at this moment, I would say it's largely positive. So we'll see as it unfolds and brings itself to a close. And of course, it doesn't help my mind when I have to take something out because I couldn't count. But it's all right. It's all right. It's minor, very minor. Now, I have not shown this, I think possibly since November, which is Under the Roof of Blue Ionian Weather. And this is a painting, reproduction of a painting, and that's done by Golden Kite, which is arguably the most detailed reproducer of paintings, I would say, in the market right now. And this is, I think they're classifying it as a medium. It's actually a custom size that I asked them to do because I didn't want to do the large, but I wanted to do the painting. And I will show you that I'm working right in here now, this area where this woman, these 2 women are, and the face of one of them is starting to come into being. Now, again, I have not shown this in a long time, so it's going to be about out to where my fingers are at this end, that big. And I'm about 44% done with it. It's very heavy in confetti, which is one of the reasons that it's such a good reproduction. And there's sort of a funny shadow, but you get the idea. Because the confetti means there's a lot of nuance to the colors. And since it's all so gray and so forth, it's good to, you have to have some confetti or it would be very flat looking. Now, my pattern or my practice last year was to not show it every week because it's hard to discern progress. For instance, I've done 400 stitches since the last time I showed this, and even if I show you a before and after picture, you would hardly be able to tell. For one thing, it's 72,000 stitches, so 400 stitches is not a big percentage. But it's also just that it's gray and confetti. So I'm going to go back to my practice of showing it every other week. And I'm going to use the fact that I'm making a video as inspiration to do that. That is to make progress so that I'll have something to show every other week. Also, the fact that I really want to finish this. So I started it on March 28th, 21. So it's coming up on 2 years. But 72,000 stitches. To finish it in 2 years, I would have had to do 100 stitches a day approximately, you know, give or take, have some holidays in there, which is not reasonable given that I have other projects I want to work on. And for this project, this type of thing with this much confetti, it takes, I can do maybe 60 stitches an hour, probably on average. So that's a lot of hours. Oh, I forgot to show you. So these little cards are 4x6 cards. This is how the countdown stitch along this one. This is how they come. They come 1 day's worth per card, and it's mostly focused on that, on the color of floss that was revealed that day. And the floss is all by Roxy Floss Company. And the full pattern does exist. You can purchase it through Evertote, which is Caroline of Evertote. Off the Grid Needle Arts is her YouTube channel. And you can purchase this pattern as a whole from them. And some people did. Instead of doing the, you know, the Advent box revealing one thread color and piece of the pattern every day in December through the 25th, they purchase the pattern. And of course, the pattern is whole. And I also think the pattern may not have the color suggestions because the color suggestions are based on the fact that we're opening a little packet that includes a new thread every day. So it has 25 colors in it. And if you go to Instagram and search on the hashtag, which is holiday, which is Countdown Sal, I think it's Countdown Sal, S-A-L is how that's ending. You will find many pictures of people, and many of them are doing it just like this because they got the box. And others are doing it with different colors. So back to this part about my miscounting. If I had been doing this using the full pattern instead of just the 1 day's worth, I might have not miscounted because I would see everything that was going to have to fit there, and I might have even stitched it in a different order. So, which is all fine. I am not resentful whatsoever at having to redo it, but it does just sort of point out that having only part of something can affect how you go about doing the whole thing instead of if you had the whole, which is all fine. So, variety show. Well, I want to say a few words about Christmas and a few words about quilting. So Christmas, as I think I said last time, it was really just wonderful. Really enjoyed the holiday. My daughter-in-law made this for me, cross stitch. And she said that she saw this on Pinterest or somewhere and then she couldn't find a pattern, so she just made it up. And I think it's brilliant. It's so nice. And I had it on the tree, but because the Tar Heels do not limit themselves to the Christmas season, I did not put it away with Christmas decorations, and it sits up on the windowsill behind me, or I may hang it next to the TV. But I'm really pleased with that. Thank you, Natasha. Cindy, my quilting friend, gave me this little project, a little kit. It's Embroidery Keepsakes by Elaine O'Neill. And Elaine O'Neill is well, I'll call her a fiber artist who lives nearby. She lives in Carborough. I think it's Carborough. It might be Effland or someplace a little farther, or Calvander, a little farther out. I don't remember if it's Carborough or not, but it's near where I live. And there is an open studio tour once or twice a year for artists in the area. So Cindy and I went to her studio to see what she had going. And she had a number of these different designs, and they are images from her fabric pictures. I'm sure she calls them something, which I can't remember what they are, but you can look up Elaine O'Neill I've put her name in the description box under this video. And so if you get up on this close, you can see that this is an image. It's a print from something that she made by attaching fabric, by appliquing fabric together to make this design. And the idea is that she also provides embroidery floss and a needle threader, which is quite kind of her for some of us. And the idea is you're supposed to improvise embroidering on this. So you make this your own. You create some dimension to it and, maybe add some color to it if you want to. And she gives some suggestions in the kit of different embroidery stitches that you might try and shows how to do them more or less. At least she shows what they're supposed to look like, and it's easy to go online and find out how to do it if you don't know, if you're not familiar. So I am going to, this afternoon, I'm going to go upstairs and stitch some waste fabric to the edge of this so that I can get it in a hoop better. And it comes with a hoop to finish it in. And the thing is that cuts out some of the picture, which means I might not want to stitch all the way to the edge. I mean, I think the idea is that this is a complete kit that you can put it in the hoop and stitch it in the hoop and finish it in the hoop, and everything you need is right there. Maybe I'll do it that way. But I find the hoop gets in the way of things that I want to work near the edge. So that's why I was thinking I might do it differently. But I don't do much straight, that is straight, that's not the word I want. Pure embroidery. I know a lot of the stitches, and I know how to read a little diagram that shows how to make them, different kinds of stitches. But I don't do much of it because I mostly do cross stitch. If I'm doing this sort of handwork, I do cross stitch, which is a subset of embroidery. Cross stitch is a type of embroidery. And I just don't do a lot of it, of normal or the other kind of embroidery, broader topic embroidery. So I think this will be very fun. I saw on Facebook recently somebody posted, I just don't have any interest in my usual crafts. Do anybody have any suggestions? And I didn't post an answer because she already had 300 answers. But my answer to not being interested in what I'm doing is to do something entirely different for a while. Completely different. If I get tired of cross-stitch and quilting, then I'm going to do some embroidery, or I'm going to practice the violin or something. Just do something that's in the creative realm, but different. Or I'm going to sketch something. I mean, I'm terrible at practicing the violin or sketching, but they are different. They get my head out of the doldrums and back into a creative point of view. So that would be my recommendation to that person. She doesn't watch my videos, so oh well. Okay, so that is something I wanted to show. And another thing I wanted to show is months and months ago, I showed you a knitting project that I was going to get started, and it was this gorgeous gray yarn that I was going to make a certain scarf pattern out of, except that I was going to do it as a cowl so that it wouldn't have an end. It's a cowl is a thing that, it's like a scarf that attaches to itself, so it's a loop. And I finally, after a long time, decided I gave up on the pattern that I was trying to do. I couldn't work out the math. The way it was given to me wasn't quite right, and I decided I wasn't going to do that. So I've started again. The reason that there's a blue thread in there is because I've done a provisional cast on because I want to make a cowl. And a few years ago, I made this cowl out of a kit, really, by, I think it's called Pepperberry Knits. Pepperberry Knits, that sounds right. And this was a kit made up of a bunch of mini skeins of cashmere. This is all cashmere. and then the pattern for this, and it's called the Lila cowl, and it makes this nice chevron design. And I've decided that that chevron design without the change of color would be nice in this slightly variegated yarn. So that is what I'm going to do. And this is by Cordobon Wools. Caradan, close, right? Caradan Farms in Virginia. And this is merino wool and silk. And I wish you could feel it. It is as soft as cashmere. It is really wonderful. And I think it's a beautiful color for myself. And so I'm going to make a cowl using this pattern. So this is a bag my friend Leslie gave me a couple of years ago. And it's perfect for knitting because it's about the right size to hold that amount of yarn and your pattern and your needle and some scissors and the doodads you need for knitting. And the shape of it is nice for yarn. And it stands up. You can see it's standing up on the table. It zips closed. And it has this wrist strap as if I would carry it around with just my hanging over my wrist. But I'm looking forward to getting more going on that. So what else? What else is going to be going on in 2023? So 2 cross-stitch projects that I have going that I didn't show. One is Winter Rose Manor. And I didn't show that this week because I showed it last week and I haven't made any more progress on it. And frankly, it just, in the back of my mind, I think, should I change the linen I'm working on? I just don't know. I think not. I think I'm going to stick with my trust the designer mantra. So I will be working on that again. I just didn't, it isn't that I didn't do it because I was concerned about the linen. I just didn't do it because I did other things this week. So I will show that probably most weeks going forward this year. And another thing I didn't show, because again, I haven't done anything on it since November, is the Snippet Tiger Stare, which is a full coverage piece. But I will be showing that because I have made myself a goal. I have over here on my, I'm looking at my computer now. Where is that? I had that open a moment ago. Cross-stitch projects for 2023. It's a little bit frightening. Now, if you watch YouTube, Flosstube, you will know that there are some people who have dozens, scores of works in progress all the time. And they have elaborate systems for choosing what to work on. And as I've said before, I think my sweet spot for projects is around 6. Now I'm going to have more than 6 going this year, just because of things I want to do and a plan I have to make it possible. But here are my goals, very briefly, for 2023. I want to get at least 23,000 stitches in on Under the Roof of Blue Ionian Weather. That will bring me to about 75% finished, and that means that I could possibly finish it in 2024 with 24,000 stitches. So right about something like that. As I said, at one point, I thought I would finish Sampler 193, the red one, this year. I mean, I could, but maybe not. Eliza Stringer, definitely I'm going to finish that. This Countdown Sal, the Christmas Evertote Modern Folk Embroidery one, I'm definitely going to finish that soon. Tiger Stare, I have decided I'd like to do 1,000 stitches a month on average. That will bring it to about 2/5 done. So I might finish it then in 2024. But I want to make some significant progress in it. And 12,000 stitches will be pretty good because the total stitches in it is 38,000. So now the Rosewood Manor, I would like to finish that this year. I think it's very possible to do that, even with all the other things I have going. I mentioned last year that I'm going to devote the third weekend of every month to stitching Christmas designs, and my friend Leslie is going to join me in that, and we are going to work on the nativity scene. I think I showed it last time. I'll show it next time, by Stitchy Princess, Etsy again, and we're going to work on that together over the course of third weekends going forward. So my goal would be to finish it this year, and possibly to finish it sooner than the end of the year and have another Christmas project on the go as, you know, as time goes on. I need to make a small for the smalls exchange at the retreat that I'll be attending in England at the end of this year. I mean, the end of September. So I need to make one, and I need to decide what it's going to be, make it, and finish it. So that is something I'm sort of mulling over in the back of my mind, what I might do that would be nice. The chart that was the Christmas gift, if you will, in the Advent box, which is called Dream of a Winter Garden by Modern Folk Embroidery. I would like to do that. And I think that when I finish this nativity scene, I might put that into the Christmas weekends stitching, the third weekend of each month. It isn't technically Christmas. I mean, it has pine-shaped trees in it, Christmas tree-shaped trees, but it's mostly reds and greens, and I think it will have a Christmassy feel to it, but it won't. I will probably, if I complete it and frame it, I will not put it away and only bring it out at Christmas time. I think it'll be year-round, because it's not overtly Christmas or wintry. So I want to do that. I kind of like to finish it. Again, if I work on it on the third weekends in the Christmas stitching, then it doesn't interfere with other plans. And it's a very concrete, discrete time frame. I wanted to do blackbird stitching. I did not do any the first weekend of January, but I want to do it the first weekend of each month. And I think I might work on that Mighty Oaks sampler, which I've shown before. As we approach the first weekend in February, I'll be giving that some thought. And I'll show you, of course, in a video, what I decide to work on. And I had also wanted to work on a Bristol sampler, which I have Harriet Salt. I think there's a year associated with that, which I can't remember. But it's a red sampler, a red Bristol sampler. It's pretty big. And I wanted to work on it for two reasons. One is because it's a Hands Across the Sea reproduction, and I'm going to be meeting Nicola Parkman in England. She's doing the retreat. And also because we're going to be visiting the George Mueller Museum on that retreat, and, you know, having to do with the Bristol orphanage situation. So I thought that I would, sort of in honor of that retreat, start working on that sampler. As I say, it's large. There's a lot to it. Many alphabets and motifs and borders and things. And I've shown it before, and when I get close to starting it, I'll show it again. And I'm thinking maybe I might start it for my birthday in June. So that gives me 6 months, 5 months now, to tie up some of these other projects or make some significant progress on these other projects. And it would also still give me 3 months of working on that sampler before we go to England. So it would be just sort of a mindset preparation for that event, going to that retreat. So those are the things I've written down. I have many other charts that I have purchased or know about, have seen, that I'm interested in doing. And I have a blank spot on the wall in my living room, which I'm going to put a picture up here that is a black and white picture, mainly because the paper that we were using to represent the potential size of a framed piece that will go in that space. And you can see it's above the large print and between the two watercolors that flank it. That represents the entire size, so it represents the piece plus its framing. And that piece of paper measures 13.5 high by 52 inches wide. And that's huge. And as I said to Anne, who sort of helped me maneuver the paper up there and adjust the size of it, that the stitched area of that, if I, assuming I come in a few inches, you know, a couple, 2 or 3 inches on each side and on the ends, the stitch area on that is almost 4 times the size of the stitched area in the purple sampler. And it's horizontal, which means it will require different thinking and planning compared to the purple sampler. So I've decided that I'm going to figure out how big that should be, what count fabric I would work on, and start designing something, you know, laying some things out, some sections, dividing it into sections and thinking about, in this section I'll do alphabets, and this section I'll do motifs, and I'll put the, you know, whatever. Figure out a way to lay it out so that I can begin to design it. And given the other plans I have, I find it hard to imagine that I would start it in 2023. But if I spend some time thinking about it in 2023, then I might start it in 2024. And again, depending on what else I have going, it might take 2 years to finish, because it took, including the thinking part, it took a full year to finish the purple sampler. So that's just something else. And I'd love your thoughts. I think I asked in this video before if anybody had any ideas of horizontal oriented samplers or cross-stitch pieces, and you gave me some suggestions, but they weren't big enough. Even if I did them on 14 count something, or 28 count linen, they just weren't going to be big enough to fill that space. So that's my current thought. I am not fully settled on that, because another way to manage that space would be to do, say, 3 smaller pieces that would be more upright and would overall be smaller. So that's another way to think of it. Or 1 long piece, long and horizontally oriented piece, and 1 upright piece. Or maybe a horizontally oriented piece and 2 upright pieces on the ends. So there are ways to manage the space that are not this, but I really kind of want to do my own purple sampler, except I wouldn't do it in purple. I would do it in reds and pinks and greens with some other accent colors. So anyway, that's just something. Love your thoughts on that. And as time goes on, I might show you some of my design thoughts, or it may just be too nebulous that it would be hard to show. But anyway. So the variety show was mostly plans for cross-stitch. I didn't even talk about quilting. And so I won't talk about it, but I will just give you this little teaser here that my friend and I, my friend Cindy, bought the fabric for that multicolored quilt that we talked about, I think, on our last quilting video, which was called Galloping Horse number 2, which is the second quilting video. The first one was called Fun with Quilting or something. We hadn't settled on what we were going to call the quilting stuff. I'll have to look back and see if I can rename a video without having to re-upload it. I don't know. Maybe I can. Probably can. And I might rename the first one Galloping Horse number 1, just so that if anybody's interested in finding the quilt videos, they can easily find them. And my friend Cindy and I are going to make at least one more quilting video before we go to the quilt show in February, which is at the end of the month. So that's a preview of things to come. Now, I have gone on and on today, much more than usual. And the only other thing I was going to mention is, for those who are interested, which some of you are kind enough to be interested on my behalf, and I do appreciate it, the World Puzzle Federation Sudoku Grand Prix begins this weekend, and I'm going to participate in that as I did last year. And yeah, I think that was all I was planning to talk about today. I've just covered up my notes on my computer over here, so I think it's enough, and I've gone on. This is longer than average video for me by quite a bit. And thank you so much if you're still hanging with me, I really do appreciate it, and I hope that you have been interested the whole way through. Thanks so much for watching, and many blessings to you, friends.